Yes, we have an emergency podcast. Here we are. Just the three of us right now. We can't find Tass. We don't know where he is. He's
living his life out there somewhere.
That's right. He signed, he punched out of the Classic Factory. He said, I'm going to have myself a beer and enjoy the weekend. But we got a trade here, so we had to jump on to break it down very quickly. Skeets, we got Trey, we got Lily, JD behind the scenes pushing the buttons. Guys, well, actually, it's been so long, I feel like we need to hear a little Southern lawyer.
We got ourselves a trade.
Yeah, we do. I was out walking the dog, and when I came back, whoa, Clippers Blazers doing some things. The Clippers are acquiring Norman Powell and Robert Covington in a trade with the Blazers, sending reserves Eric Bledsoe, Justise Winslow, and Keon Johnson to Portland in the deal, along with a 2025 second-round pick by way of the Pistons. So the big names in this, Powell, even Covington to some extent, going to the Clippers. Lee, let's start with you. Who's the winner of this trade? I have an idea where you're going to go because some people are very confused by one team.
Yeah, well, the Clippers have got the player. They're trying to build a winner here. They're trying to be able to compete. That's why they went and got Norm Powell. Norm gets out there, gives you 18 points a game. He's been pretty good when he's played for the Blazers this season. So he's got a long-term contract. You don't take that on if you're just making a deal for the sake of making a deal. I think he improves that team. They get away from Eric Bledsoe and Justise Winslow. Justise Winslow, I feel a bit bad for him. His career's never really been able to get going. Every time he sort of seems to, something gets in the way, whether it's injury or whatever. And Eric Bledsoe has a non-guaranteed contract for next season, or certainly a buyout for the Blazers. That, to me, says that they're looking more in a, this is just to see the season out type of deal here. But for the Blazers, for the Clippers, I don't mind the additions here. I think Robert Covington, we've seen him for the Rockets in the past where he's a 3-and-D guy, you know, goes out there, spreads the floor. He's an undersized big man, so he can play a bit of defense as well. And the Clippers obviously feel that Paul George is probably coming back in the next 2 or 3 weeks, maybe not quite that soon, but he's coming back. They're looking at potentially, you know, competing for a championship once they get their guys healthy. Kawhi Leonard, who knows what's happening with him this season, but the Clippers are not just running out the clock. They wanted an upgrade, and they went out and made some aggressive moves today. And I think they're good. I think they're decent moves for them. I don't mind that at all.
Yeah, let's stick with the the Clippers side of things here, Trey. Do you agree with what Lee's saying? You like this sort of aggressive move, getting Powell despite the contract and even bringing in Covington for not a whole lot, let's be honest, going back to the Blazers?
Yeah, they gave up some guys who were in their rotation, kind of, in Eric Bledsoe and Justise Winslow, but they're getting back Norm Powell and Robert Covington, who will be mainstays of their rotation, I would have to think, the rest of the season. So I think this is a smart move because I think Ty Lue just said that they don't think Kawhi Leonard is going to come back this year. We'll still see how it turns out. But like Lee is saying, Paul George likely will be returning. So even then, if you're adding Powell, you're adding Covington, you're getting better for this season to chase after a playoff spot, a 6th seed, or at least a home court in the play-in tournament, maybe get a little bit of a run there as well. And then you're going to be definitely better next year when Kawhi Leonard is back for certain, playing alongside his Toronto championship teammate, Norm Powell. That's a pretty cool reunion there. So I think this is a great move for the Clippers this season just because it helps beef up their lineup a little bit. And then I think it's really smart to be able to add these guys for the long term when they're really competing for a championship next year.
Yeah, I think I saw La Murray of The Athletic, Clippers beat writer. He looks at it like LA is sort of building two different teams right now, Lee. And that is one, they're trying to add to their, offensive side of the ball, especially because they are very, very low in terms of offensive rating. They're decent defense, but with no Paul George and Kawhi, they're trying to add to that. You get a Norman Powell in there, sort of like a 20-point per game scorer because they're in this play-in race. They're a 500 team. We talked about how impressed we were on this morning's podcast about the job that Ty Lue has done with this squad, despite the injuries to their major stars. But like Trey said, they're also building to contend probably next year when your superstars in theory are back in the lineup. And Norman Powell, especially, I'm not sure about Covington as much, but Powell seems to fit both of those teams, right? He can help right now, no doubt, on the offensive side of things, and should be able to slot in there alongside those guys next year if they're back healthy.
Yeah, he's 28 years old, so he's certainly in his prime years right now, and he's been, in a championship experience with Toronto there, so he knows, he's a veteran. He's still a little bit frustrating, a little bit inconsistent at times, but I think the Clippers looked at this and said, he's a pretty good complementary player because there's no question at their best, it's Kawhi and it's Paul George. So you need guys who can sort of fit in alongside those. Norm can hit that threes at 40% for this season. If he can continue to knock that, even improve that a little bit, then it just spreads the floor and opens up more opportunities here for the Clippers. So I think they see him as a pretty good fit. I think he's a pretty good locker room guy from all reports. He's a pretty good teammate. And that's the sort of, you need those sort of guys in the situation where they understand what their role is. So, Norm's not a bad defensive player either. This is, the Clippers clearly thinking right now that they don't want to get scooped for a player like his capability either. I think, and maybe the Blazers said, all right, we'll give you power, but you got to take Robert Covington as well. Okay, that's fine. That's not too bad for now. And again, maybe Covington isn't around in the future, but it's worth making that deal considering, as you guys are saying, they gave up players. Eric Bledsoe just, he's had his moments there in LA this season, but for the most part, he's a frustrating player. He's certainly not a playoff performer. And I think the Clippers probably took that into consideration, thinking like, if we do get to the playoffs, we want someone who's got a better reputation than Eric Bledsoe. And I think Normie Powell, from his years in Toronto, has shown that he can deliver.
Well, let's get to the Blazers side of things. I mean, Trey, are you shocked that they didn't get at least one first-round pick back for Norman Powell? You could even say Covington, who they gave up 2 first rounds for not that long ago. Like, that to me is shocking. Yeah, just some obviously somewhat average players. Keon Johnson, a flyer, like the 21st pick of the draft. I mean, he's an athletic kid. They'll give him a chance. I'm sure he'll get some minutes, but it's not a lot coming back here. This is baffling.
No, not much coming back. But like saying Keon Johnson, that guy's a literal flyer, 48-inch vertical at the combine. So let's just see this guy jump out there. And to me, yeah, it's disappointing if you're a Trailblazers fan that you didn't really get much of a return here. Maybe Bledsoe helps out for the end of the season. Maybe he's an incredible tank commander, which I think is the big win here for the Blazers.
Yep.
They're going to be much worse. We've talked a lot about how some team is kind of going to just stumble into the 10th seed in the Western Conference. We've also heard that Damian Lillard says he'll evaluate whether or not he's coming back to the Blazers this season, depending on where they are in the standings. This, to me, kind of ensures that they're going to be dropping in the standings, giving him a chance to hopefully get a high lottery pick for next season, which then theoretically you can bring Lillard back to play alongside that younger guy, or maybe ship that younger guy somewhere for some help for Damian Lillard, whatever it is. The Blazers are getting worse this year, which they needed to do because they've been playing decent enough basketball for the 10th seed in the West compared to the other teams that are out there. So they want to make sure they're got great lottery odds this year. So I think an incredible move from that standpoint.
Yeah, there's that, the idea of like playing for the lottery pick. And there's also, Lee, just, hey, let's get under the luxury tax threshold here. Let's just save money because our team stinks right now. And who knows, maybe the Blazers are going to be making, another trade as soon as we jump off of here and McCollum's moved out or Nurkic has moved out or another player has moved out. I think that's a real possibility here as they save some money and like Trey said, sort of maybe lean into not making the playoffs. Is there a weird like pick protection with the Bulls from the Larry Nance trade too? Like to the point where like they want to not make the playoffs, if I remember correctly, to then to keep that pick. So the Bulls maybe not getting it if they're that bad. But yeah, what do you think, Lee? Is that what's happening here?
Well, yeah, we'll see actually the next week. If they do move on from McCollum, then that's clearly a sign that they're looking to the future. So then what do they do with Lillard? Because it's fine if you get a high draft pick, but that draft pick likely isn't going to be able to impact the team winning immediately while Lillard's in his win now mode. So we'll see exactly. I think this was more just a financial thing. It's like, we don't want to pay out this season if we're not even going to get close. There is talk, Mark Stein was reporting today, that there's a lot of interest in CJ McCollum. Maybe the Pelicans are interested there. We'll, who knows? We'll see what happens. But if the Blazers deal one of their other veterans now, then Lillard's got to be sort of looking around going, I hope you've got a big plan here, because otherwise he's just going to be treading water again. And, he's I've said before, he wants to be loyal. He wants to be a one-team guy. But this move is more like, okay, this season's gone. Don't worry about this season. So that next move the Blazers make has to be significant one way or the other. It's either, okay, the Lillard era is over, or we're going to make that big move, because I don't think you can rely on free agency to make that happen. The Blazers, maybe they can, but I wouldn't put a whole lot of faith in that being what they're banking on getting that veteran to sign a long-term deal. That's really not where it's going to happen. So, we'll see. The Blazers making some moves here. Maybe there's another one to come. We sort of thought that with the Cam Reddish and Kevin Knox deal, that maybe it's a precursor to something else. So 9 days to go, is it now? Or it's less. I think it's 8 days until the trade deadline. Maybe there's some more things to happen in Portland.
Oh, the trade deadline's on Thursday, mate.
6
Today's
days.
It
Oh, God. Man. Is it January still, or are we in February?
No, we actually are in February. I think the Winter Olympics are over. I saw a lot of people tweeting this, so I just want to address it. It does not look good when you take a step back. What the Blazers have sort of turned a couple players and picks into here. I think overall, if I have this right, it's basically Gary Trent Jr., Rodney Hood, Trevor Ariza, and 2 first-round picks has now turned into Eric Bledsoe, Justise Winslow, Keon Johnson, and a second-round pick in 2025 by way of the Pistons.
Not
who
great.
by then will probably be really good with all their young. Yeah, that's bad. That's bad. That's bad just when you look at the players. I mean, timing sucks too. Gary Trent Jr. scoring 30 a game over the last, 5, finally came back to earth the other night or last night. But just the picks alone, Trey, not pretty there.
Not pretty there, and you're exactly right. The pick is protected 1 through 14 to the Bulls for until the 2028 season. So I think this is kind of okay, let's make sure we're in the top 14 so we can hang on to this, because then maybe in the summer, maybe the price for Ben Simmons comes down a little bit and you can make that move. You're like, hey, we got our first round pick. It's number 7. That's not bad. Right, Philadelphia? You interested in that? You can get a guy with a named Jaden, probably. I assume there will be a Jaden in the top 7 this year. But they got to hang on to their assets, because hang on to your assets. Isn't that like a Will Smith saying in Men in Black? Hang on to your assets. But I think this is smart. And I think Lillard is in on it. I can't imagine the Blazers allowing an interim GM to be making the moves around the team without sort of talking to Lillard and having an idea of where he wants to be and what he's thinking about his future with the Trailblazers. So my guess is that he would be in on this, but I would also assume that we are going to see some more Trailblazers trades here as they try and sort of bring in these assets and kind of build up their war chest.
Yeah, as for Bledsoe himself too, I mean, he's now on the Blazers. He might play. He could be a buyout candidate, Lee. I mean, only 3.9 million of his 19.3 million for next season is guaranteed. It's a possibility that's in play. If they do really want to just give even more minutes to Anthony Simons, who's looked like obviously is turned into a really promising player here, at least getting the opportunity in a lot of losses, but it's still fun to watch him play. And we'll see what they do with Keon Johnson, but I don't think they're done. It's interesting you bring up the McCollum Pelicans thing, because the Blazers are in the play-in tournament right now. Pelicans are right behind them. If they actually could, they could kill 2 birds with 1 stone, I guess is what I'm getting at, Lee. If they somehow traded McCollum to the Pelicans, get some young assets, some more draft compensation back, help their tank, because McCollum's not playing then now, and McCollum's on the Pelicans, he helps them play a little bit better, and maybe they take the Blazers' position there.
Oh man, you're a galaxy brain thinking out.
Well, I'm just saying, you got me thinking about it now.
Yeah, well, the only thing with Bledsoe is, when you've got a $19 million contract, maybe they don't buy him out straight away, because you may need that to throw into a trade to make it happen. So he could get his money still, even though it might be more than just we're just hanging on to this to make that, because Ben Simmons is, his contract's worth 35 million or something next season. So you might need the young player, you might need the draft capital, and then you just need the contract to make it all work. So that could help him out, but it's certainly not, his future isn't in Portland, Eric Bledsoe, and exactly where his future is right now is hard to tell. He's 32. He's had some okay moments this season. It sort of looked like that deal there, being back in LA helped him, but I guess obviously the Clippers just didn't see him as a big part of their future. Certainly not someone they could rely on down the stretch run here.
Yeah. Any other final thoughts here on the Clippers Blazers? We're not going an hour by any means. We thought we'd jump on for 10 to 15 minutes, just immediate reaction. Anything else, Trey, that, you're starting to think about with either of these teams, be it immediate play on the court or even sort of long-term plans here as we lead up to the deadline and even into the offseason?
If we don't see a Portland Trailblazers and New Orleans Pelicans trade now, I'm going to be upset. You totally talked me into it, Skeets. I mean, you're going a little galaxy brain on it, but it makes complete sense. The Pelicans will want to be competing for that tournament because maybe that entices Zion to come back. Getting McCollum would be a nice get for them. He's a little ahead of their timeline, I would say, but it would help having another veteran around. And the Pelicans have a ton of picks coming in. I think they have 7 extra first-round picks from their various deals with the Lakers and the Bucks. So maybe they would be a little loosey-goosey with them and want to throw one in.
Yeah, and then really, I think as we wrap this up, Lee, it's like, what does this all mean for Damian Lillard? I know we addressed it because I'm with you. It's like even moves to be made, be it moving Nurk or McCollum. It's like, what is coming back? I mean, in return, like I can only really even think like somehow there is still a Ben Simmons deal, and he's the big piece coming to Portland to pair up with Lillard. But it sounds like the Sixers are not all that interested in like a McCollum-led package. They want Lillard. They don't want McCollum. So I don't know what this means. And you got to wonder, like, are the Blazers, would they be wise if they like just say, okay, we are starting from basically scratch and everybody's available, including Lillard, and they get a huge haul in theory in return for him. I wonder. I'm not trying to like, I don't want to like, this is already a depressing day, I think, for Blazers fans with this deal. I don't want to make it worse, but what do they do? Like, I just don't see how many, like, what players are going to be beside him to help him win a championship, which is the goal.
Yeah. That's what I mean. They need a veteran who's in win now mode as well. That's where the young pieces, it could be good. I mean, you could luck out and just get like the next, whoever coming through in the draft, if it's an absolute certain player. But
Jaden. Yeah.
He's good.
There's actually the stream team has 2 Jadens who might go in the top 7.
No, there you go.
Jaden Hardy and Jaden Springer. So
make sure that's a real Al Horford, Al Thornton situation. Make sure you get the right one, But that's what I mean. Like, again, it just takes years. You don't often find that. There's not like a Zion before he got drafted. It's like this guy's an absolute certainty and Shaq and things like that. So,
also the Blazers are not going to have like, I mean, they could in theory win the lottery and like get really lucky and pull the number 1 or 2 pick, but that's unlikely too.
The other thing is as well is, Anthony Simons is saying that, his emergences mean they want to sort of keep him as a young asset. But of course, he could also be attractive to other teams. They're like, listen, man, Anthony Simons is the guy we want. And the Blazers obviously wouldn't want to give him up right now, I don't think. So it's a bit unclear exactly the direction they're in. Obviously, they have an interim GM there in Joe Cronin. Maybe he's the long-term decision maker, but this is probably, the ownership group who's decided, okay, at least save us money for this season for now so they can get off Powell's contract. And, next season they don't have that commitment to him.
Yeah, and Troy wisely points out here, the Blazers getting under the luxury tax this season makes it possibly more likely they re-sign Nurk. So there is that. And if the Blazers don't continue with this Dame, CJ, Nurk sort of trio, it's Dame, Anthony Simons, Nurk, and forwards moving forward. Again, is that all that exciting?
Well, that's the problem. I mean, if they're going to run it back with Nurk, Nurk's a solid player.
He's solid, very solid. Yeah,
but
I don't think
if that's the move, I don't think Lillard would be like, okay, you locked him up, and be a bit of a concern.
And just to go back to the Clippers to wrap this up, final thought. Norman Powell, you said it, Trey. Teaming back up with Kawhi Leonard. I wonder, will we have a funny, awkward handshake exchange in the back that we had once upon a time where Kawhi left Norm just completely hanging, I think, on a fist bump, if I remember correctly, and then it turned into a point or something from Kawhi. So there's those 2 former Raptors. There's Serge Ibaka. Is this the team Marc Gasol returns to?
I don't mind it. Marc Gasol, what's he been up to? What's he doing? I don't know.
Just raising his babies and composting or something.
Yeah, they've gotten good minutes from Zubats and Hartenstein, but Marc Gasol's got a championship. He was not very good with the Lakers last season. He looked like it was the end of his career, but maybe you could use him for 10 minutes just to kind of sop up 10 minutes in the playoffs. I think you're trusting him a little bit more than at least Hartenstein, though he's been playing with some incredible energy this year. I want to clarify one thing real quick, Skeets.
Yeah.
It's Jaden Hardy and Jaden Ivey who are the draft prospects.
Okay.
Jaden Springer is a rookie for the Sixers. And of course, there's Jaden McDaniels.
Yes.
I think Jaden McDaniels is on the Timberwolves, right?
Yes, I believe that's correct.
Jalen McDaniels is a Hornet.
Yeah.
I think you have that right.
Yeah,
and
there's never been a Jaden in the NBA until the 21 season, and suddenly next year we're gonna have 4 Jadens.
There's also a Jalen Noel in Minnesota as well. So you got your Jadens and your Jalens.
Hey, keep this going, guys, because Tass is loving the content. He just gave us $5.
Wow.
I'm not sure. He took $5 out of the No Dose account and went right back into the No Dose account. So I'm not really sure how that works, but
I think that means you just paid YouTube like 5 cents.
Yeah. Anyway. Anyway, I'm excited. Look, the biggest trade in the world. No, 5 guys being moved though. Norman Powell, the big name, going to the Clippers. That's exciting. I just like this start, Lee. I like a little momentum here to the trade deadline that you think is 20 days away. Wait, no, 15 days away. No, 8 days away. No, 6 days away. So this is good. I don't want all the trades to happen on one day. I like them when they're
that's
spread
right.
out a little bit here, even if it's on a Friday night and I get to jump back on with you guys.
Well, you saw me as well. I put the wrong date on the doc for Monday as well. I don't know what day.
You're all over the place. You're all over the place.
Someone said February 4. I'm like, no way. We're still January.
Can't be.
Oh man.
Well, thanks to the stream team for jumping on here. To everybody that joined us live for this immediate reaction podcast to the Clippers Blazers trade. Shout out to everybody watching, of course, a little bit later. Like the video, subscribe to No Dunks on YouTube. Do your boys a solid there, and leave your thoughts in the comments below the vid. Who's the big winner of this trade? What do you think the Blazers are doing? What's next for them? Let's hear it, guys, because I'm sure we'll get into it in greater detail on Monday's podcast. Unless, of course, we have another trade and I start talking to you guys, on Saturday or Sunday. You never know, Trey. You never know. You shake your head, but it's possible now.
People are saying if you're going to do an emergency podcast for Norman Powell, you can do an emergency podcast for anybody.
Well, I mean, we did one for Cam Reddish going.
Yeah, what's the bar there? Are they equal? Yeah. Are those ones equal?
No, this one is a bigger deal because you're like, whoa, the Blazers are making a decision. Maybe they're like, they're leaning into a direction. The Clippers, as we talked about, it's like, oh, their team is 500 right now. They're even better now. They're playing for next year as well. And I think this is bigger than Cam Reddish. He doesn't even fucking play for the Knicks. I mean,
but there was a first round pick. First round picks are sweet.
Good point. Yeah, still incredible. Not one first round pick going to the Blazers for Norman Powell and Covington. Oh well, it is what it is. Okay, guys, let's hear your thoughts. I wasn't going to do this, JD. I hope you're ready, but it is a Clippers trade. So, Clipper Bros.
You heard it here first. Have a great time. Turn up. Love you guys. Awesome.
Gotta love it. Trey, got any wise words as we head into the weekend here?
Thanks for joining us. And remember, the Olympics have already started, but they're also starting tonight. I think.
That's right. That's right. Yes. Embrace the weekend, people.
You could stay.